Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Good to have you guys back. And my word, what an episode! I have to say this, I was blown away by this episode. I really was not expecting this. Stargirl Season 2, Episode 6. We kick off from our old series that we were following called Bad Parents, as Beth was struggling to get her father to speak to her mother. She's trying, look, what else can she do, guys? She's trying everything she can, but it's just not happening. She's so sweet and she wants to do everything to try and be happy in her home, but no one else is making an effort there except for her. She was always that girl who was dependent on having her parents because she never had anybody else. That's what the reason why Chuck was so valuable in her life, because she didn't really have anybody or any friends. And I think we're seeing a transition of Beth now where she sort of starts to come into her own and become a dependable part of the team as well. So I think that this is what they're kind of really setting up for her. I welcome it because I think she's got so much more to offer in this series. So Beth and Yolanda are getting threatened by Isaac and Artemis at the start of the show. And it really does set up something of a special start for and an introduction really for Eclipso. Eclipso, guys, is up there with Darkseid, Doomsday, Steppenwolf in the comics. By all account, for me, he should be really the Arrowverse's crossover villain. He's that good, guys, and he's damn right scary. I mean, all the laughs and growls are one thing, but this show is starting to come over as a supernatural genre, and it's quite scary in places. But this is definitely worth the build up. I know season 2 has been a little on the light side in terms of action, but this is because it was all saving it up for this episode. And guys, some truly impressive fight scenes, cinematography, and we get to see those cheerleader skills in combat when Courtney's fighting. It's really impressive stuff, and it rewards fans who stayed with the show throughout. With Isaac, he gets an incredibly creepy scene where he taunts Yolanda over her nude photos, and Artemis challenges Beth to a jock versus nerd matchup, and obviously Cindy then reveals her plan was to never recruit Mike, which, we were all asking about, but to kidnap and use him as bait. So that kind of really makes more sense now, because Mike would never turn to the dark side. And after we see Pat getting brutally defeated, it kind of drastically raises the stakes for this episode. You just knew that stuff was going to go down and it was going to be a good battle. Now, the JSA and the ISA matchup was really good. It was so fitting for where we are at this point in the season. The sequence is filled with some amazing angular shots, some very wide shots as well, so we could see what was going on in both fights, and some talented stunt work which shows off the impressive cast and what they can do. Great fight choreography as well, and some clever use of Courtney's staff in battle, which for me was on par in season 1, throwing it off the wall and off the floor and having her stand and fight on it. And you get to see a full range from Courtney, giving us the chance to see what this team is really made of and all of their unique abilities. Yolanda's kind of feline acrobatics was there as well. Beth's quick thinking and her smarts. Courtney's, as I said, Courtney's acrobats, and Rick's brutal strength with his newfound calm in mind as well. Let's not forget, guys, that Rick has really grown as a character in terms of his mind. He's gone from this raging bull, reckless haymaker swinging character to somebody who's caring, his dog. Let's talk about caring for his dog. And someone who's really starting to use his mind and heart now when he's fighting. We saw that quite a bit in the fight with Artemis. But Artemis' athleticism was a sight to behold. And there was some good use of the violent abilities from Isaac, which we didn't really get to see from his parents. We only got to see a few things, especially the hypnotism stuff, but not real fighting with the violin. So we were really treated to something special in this episode, guys. And everyone came out virtually unscathed in the team. And Artemis, well, she took some massive punches from Rick, and I really have to say, if that was anyone else, then they would be dead. With the damage that she took, she was able to go toe to toe with our men and walked away unscathed. I mean, it looked like she was slightly hurt, But for me, guys, I want to talk about her. You know, I talk about one character every week in my reviews, but she's the person that I want to talk about this week. I'm still a bit confused with her abilities. They haven't really got her right, or they've just changed her up. So I think she's actually a metahuman with super strength, which she isn't, of course, in the comics. But like the Greek Olympic god Artemis, she was immortal, very powerful, had special powers including her perfect aim with the bow and arrow. So the way I look at Artemis in this series and in this episode is she reminds me of Deathstroke. Now, not so much Deathstroke, but his daughter Rose Wilson, who possesses low-level human strength, speed, stamina, senses, intellect, and resistance to injury. Now, of course, we all know this is because of the famous Mirakuru serum. And I believe that Tigress and Sportsmaster gave it to Artemis when she was younger. Think about it, guys. A few weeks ago, the way she threw that football seemed like it implied that she had this super strength. It reminded me not so much of Smallville when Clark in the Superman film threw the ball out of the atmosphere, but she pretty much threw it the whole length of the field, and nobody is that strong. And let's think about it in this respect as well. And this was used on the TV's version of Arrow with Roy Harper, who was played by Colton Haynes, when he is kidnapped and injected with the same serum by Brother Blood. Now, this gave him a bloodlust, of course, but my point is that it has happened in the DC multiverse, and it's not really explained as to why Artemis is so powerful. So I definitely do think, guys, that they've given her some kind of enhancement, and she's a metahuman. I've been thinking about this for the last few weeks, but I'm glad that Shade didn't get killed, because he's a great character. I think he's the best actor on the show, to be honest. And as for the JSA young team members, it's clear from the way that they fight that they've really ramped up their abilities to work as a team. Like the X-Men using a danger room, they've clearly leveled up. And when Rick gets Yolanda a big speed boost, you know, pushes her as she leaps forward towards Cindy, it reminded me of the Colossus Wolverine Fastball special. Really, really special moment for me. But guys, the moment that Eclipso murders Isaac with the dagger he pulled from Cindy's arm, it's pretty shocking stuff. And Eclipso walked over to the injured Isaac and did what he did to Cindy's stepmom by sort of inhaling her, by absorbing her life force. Eclipso then took the shard out of the diamond, which was on the floor, and threw it at Cindy's feet. And of course, nobody even cared about Isaac dying, but when it turned to Cindy, she started to sink into a puddle of black glue. And Courtney's impulse was to run towards her. This kind of not only shows that she cared and how much of a big heart she has, but it's Cindy was someone who she tried to be friends with. And of course, we know Cindy got duped. She was thinking she could just use Eclipso without being used in return. And I've been saying every week that Cindy has no one who cares about her, and because of that, no one to help her break free of this evil. Little did we know that that person who would try to save her was Courtney. Anyway, look, I think Cindy's still alive. If Charles McNider is alive in the Shadowlands, then so is Cindy. That's the way I think about it. So we learn that the Shade's powers come from Eclipso's home world, the Shadowlands, which actually opens up a lot of questions, guys, because now I'm asking myself if it was Eclipso that put Charles McNider in there. Yeah, that was probably where he was holding Bruce Gordon too. So there's another little Easter egg we find when Mike finds a toaster in the junkyard. This was the same toaster that Yolanda scratched way back in season 1, and he uses that to take Cindy out. Yeah, so it's kind of done an about turn because obviously she was trying to fight her as well. But they really exceeded my expectations in this show, guys. Not only has Stargirl proved itself to be on par with a lot of the other DC shows like Titans, Doom Patrol, Swamp Thing, but it's arguably better than some of them as well, and it's way darker too. So I think we have to ask ourselves is, what's happened to Shade? He also tried to reappear at the ISA's headquarters, and then he disappeared again in a pool of smoke. So I think he's actually going to the Shadowlands for answers. I'm sure he'll meet Dr. Mid-Nite there, and I'm sure that they'll come up with a plan to save the kids, and I believe that that's how they're going to get over this Eclipso evil bad guy. So I want to hear what you guys think and what your thoughts are on that episode. I'm definitely giving this one a 9 out of 10. I didn't expect it to be this good. I gotta be honest, it was shocking. Yeah, I'm buzzing from it, and I'm absolutely loving this show and where the direction is. And we're only at the halfway point. This is episode 6. There's 7 more to go, and I can't wait to see what they do with it. I really can't, but I expect us to be making a trip to the Badlands pretty much soon. And still, guys, no sign of Jakeem and Thunderbolt, no sign of Jenny or Todd, and no sign of Sylvester Pemberton. What is going on? Every week we call it out, but let's hope that there's going to be some payoff there. That's all from me, guys, this week, and I'll speak to you in the next one, man. Peace out.